Hello everybody and welcome along to round number 3 of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, coming to you from Snetterton. Well, it's the third week of the championship. We're thoroughly getting into the middle of this series, and it's been an exciting start to the championship here. Delighted to have you all here. Paul Smith and Peter Mackay on commentary here today for you. Conor Maddock, afraid, is a bit busy, but Peter, I mean, come on, Porsches at Snetterton, you must be in heaven.
Certainly am. Yeah, it's a wonderful track here to get your teeth into and try and break the code that is going quick at Snetterton. Not an easy track by any means at all, but we have some of the best drivers in the United Kingdom here in virtual motorsport trying to get up the front of this very competitive championship.
It certainly has been a competitive championship. Let's take a look at where we started off this championship at, which was of course Silverstone around the Grand Prix circuit, and then just a couple of weeks ago we went to Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit. Really fun event there for us last time out. Here we've got week 3, races 5 and 6 of the championship at Snetterton. Before 2 weeks time we head to my personal favourite track, Alton Park, for races 7 and 8. Spa-Francorchamps, that's a bit of a special flyaway race for the championship on the 12th of March, and then the weekend of my birthday we head on over to Silverstone for the national circuit, rounds 11 and 12. Donington Park is the penultimate round of the championship in April, with the final round of the championship on the 30th of April around the Grand Prix layout at Brands Hatch, and we saw just how dramatic last season was in terms of the championship finale. Let's hope we get another finish like that. Here is how things line up though for today. Right now the drivers are in a 20-minute open qualifying session, and then we'll have a 25-minute race for race number 1. Between the two races, the drivers do get an opportunity to just get used to how the track feels ahead of race number 2, with the top 6 places inverted in their grid positions. And of course, this year, compared to the last 2 years of the championship, we have got both Pro and Pro-Am scoring points here, so a really good way of bringing other people into opportunities of getting themselves a championship here. And speaking of those championships, let's take a look at how things stand right now. And it's Sebastian Job who has an 18-point lead over Will Chadwick. Chadwick, who's just moved across this last week to Altus Esports, a new team for him. Jamie Moon is a further 12 points behind, with Josh Malin 4 points behind him. And then there's a cluster of drivers there. Ollie Peacock 1 point behind, with Matt Emery a further 1 point behind, and then Josh Thompson 11 points to his name. Jack Cedric as well, 8. Those two, you would have imagined, would have been further up the field, but haven't got involved there. In your AM Championship, it is Leo Gariboli, who had a sensational round last time out at Brands Hatch, has got a 15-point lead over Brandon Blakesley, with Gareth Higgins a further 2 points back from them. Luke Pennington, Scott Merckx, with Dan McCauley, Adam State and James Parker rounding out the top 8 of those championships. But, well, Peter, we're here at Snetterton. It's a tricky track, isn't it?
It is, yeah, very technical in places, particularly in the infield, so the drivers have to get a lot of practice in to be able to maximise and find every last little trick as well. And of course, we do have a driver in Josh Malin, who in the championship, who does know this circuit well from his real world racing exploits. But looking at the timesheets at the moment, Paul, I don't see him attending today, which is a real pity, because I think he would have had an edge here.
They could have well have had an edge. Well, one driver who's got an edge around here for this round is a driver who's given us a little bit of a look at this circuit, and it is Leo Gariboli.
Hi there, my name is Leo Gariboli, driver for the Team PGZ Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car, and welcome to round 3 of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship at Snetterton. While we are technically returning to a familiar venue in the championship, there is an added twist in that the 300 layout is an all-new configuration. This layout adds 4 corners and 1.5 kilometers of lap distance, adding to the technicality of the circuit. The Wilson hairpin at turn 2 will give a good passing opportunity, and the fast corners of 8 and 9 of Brundle and Nelson will test every driver's confidence and commitment through the mini complex. An all new and technical track is always a fun shake-up for a championship, and now let me show you what the drivers will see firsthand. So we start our lap on the centre straight. You want to make sure as left as you can coming into Rich's. Very fast corner, double apex. You want to use that first inside curb as it's got a lot of camber, so it can give you a lot of grip. Very fast on throttle for that mid-turn rotation or the exit. Now coming into Wilson, best overtaking spot on the track. You want to keep it as heavy braking, tight as possible, and just straight line that exit. Just make sure to get as much traction as you possibly can. Coming into Palmer, the fronts are very hard to get turned in, as well as the rears are very hard to get on throttle, so you want to just be as smooth as you can, keep that platform as stable as you can. Come into Agostini, similar to Wilson, but it's definitely wider. You still want to keep it tight, but there's more of an emphasis on a late apex here. Use as much of that outside curve as you can, but avoid getting sucked onto the grass. Hamilton, very fast corner. You just want to flick it in, get as much rotation as possible, especially on exits. You can get as left as you can for Oggies. You want to keep it tight on that inside curve and straight line the exit. Very hard on traction here. Just want to make sure you don't wheel spin too much. Williams here, similar to Palmer, just keep it as smooth as you can going in and keep it as smooth as you can going out so you get the best exit onto the Bentley straight. You don't want to mess this corner up as you do not want to go side by side to Brundle. It will be very messy. Coming to Brundle, Nelson, probably the most difficult corners on the track. Really test commitment, heavy braking, keep it as tight as you can, and then flick to the right for Nelson. Avoid using that outside curb. Now bomb hold, you want to follow the elevation of the track to get the best grip. Keep it as fast as possible, just have as much rotation, as much speed going through. Karam's probably the hardest corner as well. You want to just keep it as tight as you can while also getting the best rotation. Going into Murray's, you want to be as outside as possible so you can get the best exit going onto the centre straight. And that is a complete lap as you run down to the start-finish line. I hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Snetterton 300 circuit. Now, back to the commentary booth for the third round of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship. Regards.
Well, thank you very much to Leo Gariboli for giving us that insight into how to go quick around this venue. And, well, certainly the drivers are trying to go as quick as possible here. We've seen this in the first couple of weeks of the championship, Peter, that with it being a fixed setup in the series, you've got drivers just trying to burn off fuel at the start of this 20 minutes of qualifying, and then really go for their fast laps towards the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing with the top drivers at this level in virtual motorsport. They really do find every possible performance advantage, and sometimes that can come in more traditional ways, and sometimes it can be really about thinking outside of the box and using a different strategy than normal. And that all just comes with the sheer amount of time in the seats and trying to discover these little advantages, because so many of these drivers are so tightly matched on pace that you've got to look for these little tips and tricks that can help you get that edge on your competitors. And yeah, that's what the drivers have found is the most advantageous way at the moment. And we'll see who comes out on top in 11.5 minutes time. And I guess for us watching here on RaceSpotTV, it makes it incredibly exciting as well, because we really won't know who's on pole position until right at the very end when the last laps come in.
And of course, don't forget, with this being on the iRacing heat racing system, it means that when that clock strikes 0, you cannot finish your lap. So you have to finish your lap before the clock hits 0 to be able to get your times in. Now, you did mention, Peter, about us missing Josh Merlin, but we have got a guest driver here, which is Charles Rainford, who is the current Pro-Am Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain champion.
That's fantastic to have Charles with us today as well, blending the two worlds of the Porsche Carrera Cup GB and the Esports Carrera Cup GB. Of course, the Carrera Cup last year in Great Britain using the 992 edition of the Porsche Cup car for the first time. Quite a step on from the previous 991 generation, a wider chassis, wider track, a little bit more power, quite a bit more aero performance as well. And instead of being 70% steel, 30% aluminium, they flipped it round the other way, 70% aluminium, 30% steel. So quite a bit more of a sophisticated machine than the old 991 generation Cup car. And actually, when this car debuted at Sebring in a test a couple of years ago, it was only a second and a half off the pace of a full-blown GT3, which is quite remarkable.
It is a remarkable machine, though, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
To say that it's a Cup class of car, it is still a tremendously quick motor vehicle, that is for sure. Here's Gareth Higgins we're looking at right now. Look at the concentration going into this lap right now. He's trying to get a hot lap in because right now Higgins, he finds himself a little bit further down the order. We're trying to move forward. Sebastian Job just going fastest in qualifying with just over 9 minutes remaining of this session. There goes Higgins up into 5th place right now.
Yeah, good lap there, and top of the AM class as well for Gareth Higgins, 9/10 of a second of Sebastian Job. Best at the moment is for Blakesley there, Brandon Blakesley coming into Brundles, and there was a car touring on the inside line. It was PJZ car.
Is that Leo?
Gariboli, yeah. I mean, in any qualifying session, it's a group session, do not be touring on the racing line. That's not on. Oh,
yeah, I think he's just come across, realised a bit too late, tried to get out of his way again, but by which point Brandon Blakesley had to take to the runoff area. Did well to actually keep the car out of the wall there. Here we are on board then, Charles Rainford. This is somebody who's got a lot of experience around this track, in the real world, of course. And as you say, Peter, great to have him along and giving it a go here in this Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship. And goes with a 49.007 across the line. He is right up there. I mean, he's only, 8/10 of a second off of Sebastian Job, who is former champion of the series and also former Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup champion.
Yeah, that's quite a benchmark to have, isn't it, with Sebastian Job, one of the best drivers in iRacing history in this very type of car. So yeah, if you can get close to his pace, you're doing very well indeed. As we ride with Craig Williams for Was Cooking Craig's setup shop. Always easy to spot Craig's car out on the circuit there with the bright orange, blue and white colours, and along an ever-present driver on the iRacing network. Regular appearances here on RaceSpotTV in the World Touring Car Championship as well.
He's certainly one that likes to drive several different cars and really give himself a challenge. We saw him, of course, last season, Craig, as well, competing, so he's no stranger to this championship. He's sort of working his way through Coram. We were speaking before, Peter, that a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with this circuit. It's either you really like it or you don't like it. Personally, I preferred, before the changes happened, it had a much better flow to it, I feel. This infield just seems to, I don't know, it just seems to lose that flow of the track, and I could never get a rhythm around here whenever I've been driving around it.
Yeah, it's very technical, and yeah, the driver, that's I think where you really see the examples of just how the very best drivers make their lap time in these kind of slower technical corners as well. It does open up some opportunities for overtaking, so that's good. But yeah, I think I would agree with you. It's definitely technical doesn't mean flowing. You can kind of have one or the other. The circuit in the past has been very popular for testing. Jim Clark's Indy 500 winning Lotus 38 was developed here, as was BMW's V12 LMR in conjunction with Williams, and the Bentley Speed 8 that won Le Mans as well was also developed here. So it has quite a heritage for car development as well.
Well, you think Lotus factory is just down the road, isn't it? And they used to spend a lot of time here. I mean, the Lotus 49, I believe, made its first laps around this track in testing. Yeah. And of course, it's the venue that West Surrey Racing gave a test to a certain young Brazilian driver called Ayrton Senna back in the early 80s in the Formula 3 car. So it's a venue that a lot of makes, a lot of marks and a lot of names have made a name for themselves here.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is really a little kind of miniature motorsport valley. If there was any hills, it would be a valley, but of course it's a motorsport plain, I suppose you could say. Yeah, when Ayrton Senna came over here, he met Ralph Furman for dinner from Van Diemen, who helped him out, and Ayrton couldn't quite understand that he wouldn't be paid. In fact, he would have to bring some money, but he was given a very significant discount. But they met in a pub restaurant just down the road from Snetterton, and the rest, as they say, is history. And as a former Lotus owner myself, I had a little bit of a soft spot for this part of the world as well.
Well, we'll discuss your former Lotus history a little bit later on. Right now,
I've switched to something more reliable now. I've got a Boxster.
But let's look then, because we've got 4 minutes remaining in qualifying here. Now remember, as I said earlier, once that clock strikes 0, that is it. You cannot finish your lap. So these drivers now have got to make these laps count, and Will Chadwick at the moment is currently provisionally in pole position ahead of Sebastian Job by just 6/100ths of a second. Jack Sedgwick is a further half a second back from those two.
This would be quite a scalp then for Chadwick if he can hold on to this, as well as Sedgwick just trying to... I'm not quite sure what he was doing there, to be honest. He'd pulled over to the side of the road, perhaps to let a car on a hot lap go through. It's Leo Garibaldi on a hot lap here. At the moment, he is in fifth position in the Pro-Am class, 14th overall. So he'll be hoping to make a few positions up the road before the clock clicks down. Of course, 1 minute and 48.1 is our pole time at the moment. So the drivers, if you're starting a lap now, this will be your last lap. So this will be Sebastian Job's last chance to get a lap in. Because remember, you cannot finish your lap. When the clock strikes 0, that is it. So, yeah, last lap for Job then. Can he break? Can he find 6/100ths of a second?
You want to be starting your last lap no later than 1 minute 50 remaining on the clock, just to give you that little bit of leeway of a couple of seconds to make sure you get to finish that lap. A couple of drivers coming through. Eric Grove for the Pure Sims outfit in 7th place. There's Leo Garibaldi, not going to be improving, off into the grass. We've got a couple of cars stopped out on track as well. Josh Thompson currently putting in a lap. Will Chadwick, I can tell you, over Sector 1 has actually done a personal best in the Altus Esports car. New livery for Will, new team, but he's second in the championship. He wants to give it a good go at a potential championship win here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Here's Charles Rainford through Murray's, and will come across the line and will not. This will be his last lap because he won't get to the line quick enough to be able to start another lap. So that's going to be his final lap time there, not an improvement. Adam State comes across the line, slight improvement for him, up to 14th overall, and moving ahead of your Pro-Am Championship leader, Leo Garibaldi. Here's Thomas Cope then, will cross the line, minute 25 on the clock.
Yeah, over the line comes Thomas Cope. Let's see what Sebastian Job can do. I think he might have picked up a little bit of a toe from Charles Rainford there as well. Does he improve? Oh, yes, he does. 148 flat there for Sebastian Job. So provisional pole for Sebastian Job, and Chadwick has pulled out of it. So Chadwick will do no better than second.
Last couple of drivers out on track as well. Coming across the line, Matt Emery, does he improve his time? He does improve his time and moves up to 3rd place. Good result for him. Dan McCauley, this is his lap time. He is stone dead last in qualifying. Comes across the line and does move up 1 place as James Parker in that DCW racing car comes across the line as well. But I think pretty much last couple of cars, Luke Pennington is going to come across the line, so too is Eric Grove. I think Grove might potentially be the last car across the line. What will he do? It is an improvement, up to third. What a time to pull out there. Get up into third place for Eric.
Yeah, great stuff, and that bumped Cedric off the second row as well, so he's down to third, but great lap there from Luke Pennington to be fastest of the AMs as well.
Well, we'll bring up the grid very shortly indeed. Just quickly to mention your top AM, Pro-Am once again in 6th place, so another good time for them. But we've got a few minutes before the start of the race, so let us give you your starting grid. Then it is Sebastian Job, the Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports team, with a 1:48 flat, taking that pole position. Sharing that front row with him is Will Chadwick from the Alters Esports team. Pure Sims outfit with Eric Grove in 3rd place, alongside him is Matt Emery. Jack Cedric from Inex Racing 5th, and as I said, the top Pro-Am from Jamestown Engineering Limited is Luke Pennington. Leon Penn is in 7th, alongside him on the 4th row is Gareth Higgins. Josh Thompson and Charles Rainford sharing row number 5. Thompson will be really disappointed with that. I know it's a very competitive driver, he'll be disappointed. Jamie Rushworth, good result for him, 11th place on the grid with Scott Merckx alongside him for Olympus Esports. Craig Williams in 13th with Ollie Peacock in the Apex Tech car. 15th ahead, or is 15th behind, should I say, is Adam State in that satellite racing car. Leo Garibaldi, such a good round last time out at Brands Hatch. Not a good qualifying for him. He'll be wanting to work his way through for Team PGZ in 16th. Thomas Cook for Olympus Esports 17th with James Parker of Team DCW Racing. Final 2 rows of the grid is Brandon Blakesley for Apex Tech. Apex Racing Team's Lewis Ward with his teammate from Apex Racing Team Daniel McCauley in 21st, and Jakub Urbanchik in Missing in Action Motorsport, rounding out your 22 car grid. Well, Peter, we have got about a minute and 15 remaining. What are these drivers going through here now, getting themselves prepared?
Probably a bit of nerves, I would think. At this stage, it's the qualifying is done, and here at Snetterton, it can be a tense first opening few corners as well when the tyres are cold. Of course, a standing start here too, and yeah, coming into Riches, it's so easy to get involved in a little incident, and then coming down for the hard braking zone into Montreal as well. It's very, very difficult. So I would imagine the drivers will be a little bit tense at the moment.
And it's quite a narrow circuit here as well. There's some of your drivers giving us a little bit of insight as to them preparing themselves for the start of this race. So yeah, as you said, some nerves out there as well. But yes, Leo Garibaldi has seen that he's on screen and giving us a bit of a G-up, but we're getting ourselves ready for the start of this race. It's a narrow start line here. The track itself is quite narrow, so got to be careful. So easy to get caught up in a start line incident. We've seen that over a number of years in both sim racing and in the real world. But the drivers will find themselves looking to the starting gantry for this race number 5 of the 2023 Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Away we go. Good start from the front too, but Eric Grove did not get a good getaway. In 3rd place, loses out to Matt Emery straight away in towards Riches for the first time. We're on cold tyres. It's quite a cold track out there. Through Riches, will everybody make it through? So far, so good. As we've got cars further back onto the grass. It was one of the Apex Racing Team cars into the hairpin at Wilson's. So far, drivers keeping themselves nice and clean, as we've got a bit of 2-wide action with one of the Pure Sims outfits, so the Apex Tech car there alongside him. That's going to be Ollie Peacock and Jamie Rushworth, I believe. There's Jack Cedric trying to work his way through as well on Rushworth, and into Agostini for the first time, but pretty clean start so far, Peter.
Yeah, pretty clean. Oh, as we say that, Adam State off the road, and is that Garibaldi as well? Yes, it is. So State and Garibaldi going off on at the Agostini hairpin. But at the front, Sebastian Job, he got a perfect launch away. Chadwick got a decent launch, but Job just pulled a couple of car lengths on that initial getaway. I tell you, who didn't have a very good start at all was Jack Sedgwick, who just lit up the rears, just couldn't get the car hooked up properly at all. And that actually held up Josh Thompson. And yeah, Garibaldi, just a cold tyre spin there. So Sedgwick would have definitely left with work to do. As he has, move up the inside is what spun Garibaldi around. I didn't spot the car number there, who that was.
What it did mean is that late
Big
move.
lunge.
Oh, yeah, that's a big lunge, is that one. And that was always going to end up in contact, I feel, there, between those two. And Adam State, the innocent party and all of that, trying to avoid the spinning Garibaldi, just goes around. Now, we've seen this in race one of both rounds of the championship so far. Sebastian Job gets to the front and then just controls his lead. He doesn't try and make a breakaway at the front. He just tries and controls everything at the front, looking after his tyres and the car as well. Look at Rayford down the inside into Wilson. Respecter of no egos. And Josh Thompson, though, hanging it out around the outside of Wilson's. A little bit of a rub. And through they go, through the left-hander at Palmer. But Rainford, look at that experience, knew that the cutback was on. Thompson squeezing him to the inside towards Agostini. It's a little bit rude, it's hard, but it's good fun racing to watch.
It's great, firm racing as well, and you see the two worlds colliding of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup GB and the Carrera Cup GB. Of course, Charles Rainford, a guest driver today from the Real Life Championship as well. Josh, this is not really what Josh needs in a fight for the championship. He can't afford to get held up a little bit. Just hasn't quite gone his way yet today. He's sitting in 7th at the moment. Great start from Luke Pennington in the AM class as well. Car 74. Who's that going? So it's Eric Grove. So I wonder if he's maybe got a slow down penalty or something, because he pulled over at the Bentley Straight and lifted out the gas. So Eric Grove loses positions. And it's like, why I've got Liam Penn in my mind. That was car 17 who was involved in that incident with Garibaldi on lap 1.
I've got Dan McCauley dropping down the order, and that's why he's in the grass, back up and running. So McCauley able to carry on there. There's Matt Emery, 3rd place. This would be a tremendous result for Matt to be in that position coming into race number 2. Of course, don't forget, the top 6 get inverted for race number 2 for the grid. Matt Emery, 6th place coming into this round of the championship, and here is what happened to Grove. And it's just cutting across the inside of Williams, just that little bit too much. And it's Oggies that he's cut across the inside of, just cutting across the white line there, is giving them that slowdown penalty.
Yeah, that's something that the iRacing simulator automatically assesses. If you go over a certain threshold, it will tell you to effectively slow down until you've served a certain amount of time penalty. And especially at this stage of the race, when the field is relatively closely bunched together, is McCauley just carrying a bit too much speed in there and loses the rear and has to grab a hold of it. But yeah, if you get a slowdown penalty at the early stages of the race, you can lose so many positions, and that's exactly what happened to Eric Grove there as well. Will Chadwick chipping away solid as ever, just trying to hang on to a slither of slipstream from Sebastian Job's number 22 Red Bull Racing car, and trying to keep him under pressure as well, because Chadwick in the championship is the closest to Sebastian Job. Sebastian Job on 48 points, Chadwick on 30, but all Chadwick's got to do is just keep Job under pressure, and you never know what can happen. He'll be first to pick up the points if Job trips up at all. Queue
of cars for 4th place that's Scott Merckx around in that Olympus Esports car. You can always tell that car, very colourful. You can spot it a mile off, but it's queue of cars for 4th place. This goes all the way back to 10th place in Jack Sedgwick. And it's almost like they're almost stalling each other out, aren't they, with the slipstream down the centre straight here into Riches. Such a difficult move to make into Riches. You want to get the run out of Riches into Wilson Hairpin, as Leo Garibaldi said on his track guide. Best opportunity to overtake around this venue.
Yeah, it is a good opportunity. That's for sure. Also, the following corner at Palmer, occasionally you can kind of set up a move as well down Agostini. Sometimes it's a circuit where you have to think 2 or 3 corners ahead to try and set up your opponent for a move. As Scott Mokes, that's the replay of him losing it, just coming through Brundle's and Nelson's. And so Snetterton biting a few drivers so far. So right with Gareth Higgins, who's in a super battle here for the win in the AM class, 4th and 5th overall. This is fantastic stuff for both of these drivers, Pennington and Higgins, and that is a face of focus if I've ever seen one, Paul.
Yes, it is. He's really feeling the car around this venue, and he's putting some good lap times in his qualifying and now in the race as well. But the problem for him is that he's got a Pro-Am right in front of him in Luke Pennington, who's also having a good one. Better run out of Nelson for Pennington, and Higgins just getting on the back foot there, and it's the most difficult part of this venue, is that run through Brundle into Nelson, because through Brundle you're coming from the fastest point of the track, you're then braking and turning and then trying to rotate the car the other way to get in through Nelson as well. It's such a difficult part of the track.
And then you've got to negotiate the bomb hole and Coram, which isn't ideal either. Yeah, it's a really challenging final sector here at Snetterton, a bit of the kind of old sector of the circuit. Now, this is a difficult position here for Gareth Higgins, 2nd in the AM class, right behind the AM leader, Luke Pennington, but a recovering Eric Grove, car number 20, who qualified in 3rd overall, don't forget, one of the quickest cars, and he could potentially really cause Gareth Higgins a problem here, because if he makes a move, that could slow up Higgins and allow Pennington to escape. So how Grove, and indeed maybe Josh Thompson as well, makes the way through here on the AM class drivers could really play a factor into how this plays out and who takes the AM win.
And I think if you're Grove, you're wanting to actually get past Higgins in front, just purely because you have got Josh Thompson behind you and you're in that coveted 6th place. You want to get into that top 6 to get that inverted grid for the second race of today. And right now, Eric Grove will be thinking, oh, if there's ever a driver I don't want to be stuck behind me right now, it's Josh Thompson, because he will make a move on me.
Yeah, very true. And if you give him any opportunity, he will take it. And you can see just the body language of Josh Thompson's Team Redline Porsche. He's just trying to find that place to try and pick Eric Grove's pocket through Coram as well. You can see just the lights coming on there at the rear, just on and off the brake, just trailing it in, trying to balance the car, trying to maximise that speed, and then getting the exit out of the final corner. Murray's very important indeed. Great racing here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain. And of course, all identical cars. They can, and of course with this fixed setup as well, they are identically set up. So this really is the most level playing field you can get. And really that's what Porsche Carrera Cup racing is all about, wherever in the world you do it.
Do you know what? I always wondered why Jonathan Palmer bought this venue here with his Motorsport Vision. That's Craig Williams, a very damaged Craig Williams there. Well, I don't need to tell you that velocity plus stationary object equals damage, and that's how he did it through Riches.
Oh dear, oh dear. So Riches, a very fast corner, turn 1, and just, puts a wheel inside the curb. That unsettles the car. And can't keep it out of the fence. How he didn't take anyone with him, I'll never know.
It's that Olympus Esports car, and well,
well done Gariboli to change the direction there. He was going to go right and managed to get the car left whilst holding on to it. Great awareness there from Gariboli, I'd say, Paul.
And I know if you're Thomas Cope, you'd be just in your head going, oh no.
I'm sure he said some other things too.
Sebastian Job is 2 seconds ahead of Will Chadwick, so he has checked out at the front. He's consistently been lapping in the 48s. Will Chadwick has not done a single lap in the 48s. It just shows the speed that Sebastian has over him. There's Thompson to the inside. There's contact between him and Grove. Grove is the one who gets pushed off the track, and here comes Rainford. Rainford is going to try and take advantage of Thompson being compromised here. O'Connor exit to the inside of Riches. We've seen that Rainford, he will make some moves. Thompson's wide. He's into the weeds. He's almost into the cornfields here. And well, that's him dropping down the order as well. So Thompson, you see Eric Grove will go past him, and Grove will say, oh, well, serves you right.
Oh, well. This is the thing when you have a guest driver. Charles, for Charles Rainford, I mean, he's here as a one-off performance, so he's going for the best result he can get. And, yeah, it was a big move, very late move there from Thompson. Yeah, Eric Grove's going to be furious about that. And that we said it, didn't we, Paul, that, you know, Thompson was going to take any opportunity. And, oh dear, that's it. Murray's one line through there, really.
I have done the exact same move on somebody in touring cars and got shouted at. So I know what it's like to do that. But here's then the follow-up. Rainford quite legitimately makes the move to the inside, puts Thompson wide, and then Thompson's just got nowhere to go. I can tell you that Josh has actually taken a trip back to pit road. No contact between the two of them. It was just Rainford getting Thompson offline. Then we go to Ollie Peacock, who went, ooh, I've got a chance of a move. This was into Wilson's, but Rainford able to hold on to that position, and our guest driver right now is in the sweet spot. He's in 6th place and a potential pole position for race number 2.
Wow, what a performance from Charles Rainford. And you know what, Josh Thompson had that off on his own. You know, there was no contact there, and it could have been that Thompson maybe had some sort of steering or suspension damage after the clash with Grove. We'll try and see if we can figure that out. But yeah, big drama here in this opening race of the day, and we saw this at round 1 at Silverstone with Adam Smalley, the Porsche GB Junior driver, mixing it with the front-running drivers of the virtual world. And that's the thing, is that it's sometimes surprising to various onlookers that, you know, it's just because you're at the very top level of outdoor racing, it doesn't always transfer to the virtual world. It's very much a specialist topic. So to see drivers from the real world mixing it with the very front-running virtual drivers is really impressive.
It's only a rare sort of few, isn't it, that really sort of perform at the top in terms of sim racing and full metal racing. I think of someone like Lauren Heinrich, Ash Sutton as well. Well, Ash is a special case. He is quick in the sim, but he also gets involved in 1 or 2 instances as well. But he is rapid in the sim because he did, of course, grow up through sim racing along with his real world exploits. There's only a handful of people who can mix that real world experience with top level sim racing.
Well, I think it's that I don't think there's any other manufacturer like Porsche who used the virtual motorsport sphere to find talent, develop talent, spot talent, and I think you look at their last couple of junior drivers, Han Chang-Guven, a good example, Lauren Heinrich also, where it's, you know, having that adaptability of being very good in the sim as well as in the outdoor world are very valuable skills to manufacturers that are engaged in the world of esports as well. But you look at somebody like Han Chang-Guven, you know, he said to me in an interview, he said, you know, without virtual motorsport, I wasn't able to show the world what I was capable of, and then through connections with Porsche was able to find a platform to show what transferable skills he had. And yeah, I mean, Lauren Heinrich would be a very similar story. So I think, you know, if you want to be the top Porsche junior driver, being quick in the sim is a very, very important skill to have.
We're looking at this battle for 11th in race. This is Jamie Rushworth and James Parker heading up this queue of cars. Eric Grove is in the mix with that one, and it is a pure sims driver of Jamie Rushworth who's leading that one, with Eric Grove trying to recover after that contact with Thompson. Now Rushworth, is third place in Pro-Am here in this race, compared to the top two Pro-Ams who are fourth and fifth overall. So it just goes to show how well those drivers at the front have hooked it up this week compared to the rest of the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, really impressive from Pennington and Higgins. And again, Snetterton can sometimes throw up these kind of performances as well, where it is so technical, it is quite specialist, and it's not necessarily a track that the drivers will have a huge amount of racing time on across a year. You know, there's tracks like, you know, Sebring and Spa, Silverstone, etc., where drivers seem to be driving on all the time. But Snetterton is a little bit more alternative, so that can throw up a little bit more opportunity for someone to come to the fore as well. But I have to say, Charles Rainford, our guest driver, what a performance this has been in 6. And as you rightly said, Paul, this puts him in a position as it stands to be on pole. But we've got to do not quite a change, but we've got to battle on for the Pro-Am lead. And Pennington having to go very defensive there to keep Higgins at bay.
Yeah, don't forget, it's not the longest of races. 25 minutes is this race. We've got about just under 8 minutes remaining in this one, and Higgins is giving it absolutely everything. You can see the perspiration on his forehead, so you can tell that he's really pushing this car around here, but Pennington is absorbing that pressure. Charles Rainford is not going to have it all his own way behind either, because Jack Sedgwick, who has competed at the top level as well, is right behind him. He's trying to kickstart his championship as Jack. So 7th place and 6th place, they're going to be duking it out. And these two, if they fight too hard here, Peter, they will slow each other down and give those two an opportunity.
Just watching Gareth Higgins' eyes, he gets his blinking done down the straight. Through the corners, he does not blink. And then once he gets onto the straight, it's almost like he gets all the blinking done that he should have done for the last 20 seconds. It's quite remarkable how much focus Gareth Higgins has behind the wheel. So intense there. And he's got to just keep an eye behind him. Also, Charles Rainsford's got to be careful, because Sedgwick, there in 7th, he wants that reverse grid pole desperately after a difficult start to the race. It's been a great recovery from Jack Sedgwick. And if he can get this move done on Rainford with 3 and a bit laps to go, then that would give him a great opportunity to fight for the win in race 2.
Certainly will. As the drivers heading along once again to Wilson's under the braking. And Rainford, you could see just how he was hooking the car on the curb on the inside of Wilson's there, really helping the car rotate. And these guys at the front, well, speaking of at the front, Sebastian Job is already at Hamilton, whereas these guys are only just getting to Agostini right now. So it just shows the gap between your race leader and second, and this group of cars. I mean, Pennington is currently just short of 13 seconds, 12.5, 13 seconds behind your race leader right now. But it's been tremendous to watch this, and it's been a great defensive display from Pennington to be able to hold on to that 4th place for the time being. But there's still time remaining in this race.
There is, yes. It's been a superb performance so far. Sedgwick having a little look as they approach Brundles, but very difficult to get that move completely sealed up. You've got to be really far alongside. We haven't seen Craig Williams come back onto track. He's been in the pits after that crash. He's done, and Josh Thompson is also done after that off at Riches. Yeah. So he's done. Whether he'll come back in race 2 or not, I'm not sure. But we'll keep a watch on that. But Sebastian Job, you look at the body language of the car, you would think with a 2.7 second gap with just under 5 minutes of racing left, you'd think he'd be cruising. Absolutely not. Coming out of Williams onto the Bentley straight, he had that thing sideways.
But I do think he has sort of backed off a little bit, because he's matching lap times with Will Chadwick, so he's just looking after his car and tyres. That concertina effect between these 4, 5, 6, 7 cars all together here as they go through the left-hander at Palmer's. Gary Burley's moved ahead of Grove further down your order. Just seeing that on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, although Grove moving back up. But this fight for 4th place goes all the way down to 10th, and Leon Penn and Ollie Peacock, that last lap, were swapping positions down the Bentley Straight. Oh, that's Pennington!
Oh, Pennington!
So what on earth? What on earth has happened to Pennington? Higgins is in 4th place now, Rainford to 5th, and Sedgwick to 6th. Well, I know our producer, Arjuna Kankipati, will be giving us a look at that one very shortly, but, well, here we go. On board with, it's on its own. It's on its own. Pennington got on the grass, and it's so easily done here. Just gets it wrong, the line wrong through Hamilton, onto the grass, and off he goes.
And look at Rainford. Rainford trying to find any opportunity to make a move and doesn't quite get it done. Oh, for Pennington, that is just gutting, because he came into this round 4th in the championship, 24 points behind Garrett Bowley in the AM championship points, and he could have made such a big move up the field. That's gutting. He is still, believe it or not, on the AM class podium after that one. But a huge opportunity lost for Higgins. Well, massive potential points there for him if he can hang on to this position in the AM class. But he's got a determined Charles Rainford right behind him as well. So a nervous couple of laps to go then for the AM leader, Gareth Higgins.
Well, don't forget that the Pro-Ams do have their own scoring. So Pennington effectively has only lost 2 places in terms of championship points. Sedgwick running very wide there. He's going to come under pressure from Lewis Ward behind him. So this one isn't over, but what an introduction to the championship. Charles Rainford, absolute sensation here. Guest driver, but does look at home in the championship here in this early going in race number 1. And still, as we go through Williams corner, you've got to get the exit right through here, carry the speed down the Bentley Straight, and Higgins is doing his best that he can to hold on to that, and doing a good job.
Yeah, very good job indeed as well. Also, big props to the car number 38, Matt Emery, who had a no score at the last race, at race 2 in round 2, but has bounced back beautifully to a pretty strong podium positions. He's 10 seconds up the road from Gareth Higgins and only just a handful of seconds behind Will Chadwick. So a good run from Matt Emery. More problems for Eric Grove, and what a story of what could have been for him. Qualified 3rd, but just the race has just been a bit of a disaster for him, sadly.
Well, Sebastian Job is out up at the front. He started his final lap of the race. 2.8 seconds between him and Will Chadwick in place number 2. Matt Emery, as you say, great position for him in 3rd place. Look at this. This is still ongoing, this one. This one's got to go to the end, is this one, between Gareth Higgins, Charles Rainford, Jack Sedgwick and Lewis Ward. Don't forget that Rainford is not scoring any points in the championship with this guest appearance. And we do see quite a lot of guest drives as well in things like the Porsche Super Cup and the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain. So it's good to see that we get guest drives in the esports version, as well as we've seen Adam Smalley as well, another Porsche junior driver being involved in this championship in the first 2 meetings of the series. But through the right-hander at Oggies and then into Williams. This is going to be pretty much the last opportunity that Rainford has got.
Yeah, and we'll see if he goes for it or not. Of course, with Pennington going off, that's moved everybody forward a place. So Rainford now actually loses the reverse grid pole, but he will start from the front row if it finishes as it is. That would move Sedgwick into that reverse grid pole. And Lewis Ward, car number 97, who's just crept up there, he's in touch as well as, Job was a bit wide on the exit, but no problem.
Well, Sebastian Job, then, it has been a perfect start to his race. It was fast pole position, fastest lap, and a race win here in race number 5 of this Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Who's going to be finishing in 4th place? It's going to be Gareth Higgins, the Pro-Am driver, who will take the win in Pro-Am. Charles Rainford and Jack Sedgwick finished 5th and 6th places. That was an exciting first race of the day here in this Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, and delighted to have you along. Last couple of cars will come across the grid, but well, let's get you your race results then from the opening race of the day here at Snetterton. And well, let's have a look then at those results, because it was Sebastian Job who wins this one. 1.8 seconds in the end, made that mistake right at the end at Murray's to take the win here in this race. Will Chadwick for Altitude Sports in 2nd place ahead of Matt Emery, who's had a good opening race of the afternoon here in 3rd. Your top am then is Gareth Higgins, who finishes 4th overall. A tremendous result for him, and that puts him in 3rd place for the reverse grid race in just a few minutes' time. Charles Rainford, the guest driver, what an appearance onto the scene here in 5th place in the end, ahead of Jack Sedgwick, who those two will be sharing the front row of the grid for race number 2 of the day. Lewis Ward for Apex Racing Team ahead of Ollie Peacock, Leon Penn, and then the 2nd place AM driver for Pure Sims, Jamie Rushworth, in 10th place overall. 3rd place in AM, and led for so long in the AM race, Luke Pennington, with one little mistake, drops down to 3rd place in AM, 11th overall in this race. James Parker, Leo Gariboli, who again, he had issues at the start of the race. Brandon Blakesley. Eric Grove, we saw the contact between him and Josh Thompson down at Murray's, and then he had a couple further incidents that just kept him down in 15th place. Jakob Urbanchik has done a good job to move up into 16th place from starting right at the very back. Thomas Cope, Adam State, Scott Merckx, Dan McCauley, and then 2 drivers did not finish, and that was Craig Williams and Josh Thompson. So that is the opening race of the day, Peter. We had plenty of drama in that one, didn't we?
You bet we did. Yeah, lots going on, lots to talk about. I mean, Sebastian Job, he would have been aware of very little of it, cruising away at the front of the field. In fact, the whole top 3 were all kind of in their own race there as well, both lapping very strongly as well. But what was going on behind? Wow, I mean, start with Charles Rainford, our guest driver. Certainly making his presence known. He's the guy that he's the guest that turns up to a party with a boombox on their shoulder and a cat and you know, a bag full of beverages as well. It makes their presence known, and he certainly did today amongst our real front-running drivers as well. And I mean, those AM drivers, you got to feel for Luke Pennington as well. He led the whole way, just pushed that little bit hard. He was under pressure the whole way from Higgins. Brilliant. But for Higgins as well, he's in that reverse grid 6, so he's going to have a great grid spot to do the double in race 2.
Yeah, going to be starting 3rd place in the 2nd race of the day. But it's as you say, all it takes is just one little mistake around here at Snetterton, because there is no asphalt runoff like you would get at Silverstone, for instance. That one little mistake and you're out in the weeds.
Well, we saw that with Josh Thompson, didn't we? Only just dropped off the circuit, and yeah, he was halfway into the turnip fields, wasn't he? So at least he didn't run into Scary Tree, which of course is still here on iRacing. Sadly, I believe not there anymore in the outdoor world. So yeah, disappointing for Josh Thompson, and I would think that Eric Grove will be pretty furious as well after the incident that they had at Murray's together. So yeah, for Eric Grove, after having such good pace, just really did not go his way at all.
We saw a similar sort of incident with Josh Thompson last time out at Druids at Brands Hatch. It wasn't really alongside. He got a penalty for that one. Now, of course, the stewards look at things post-event here, so you won't see any in-race penalties, but post-event they will apply any penalties if they deem them to be appropriate. But you're absolutely right. Eric Grove, I think, will be spitting feathers about that one because he was in a very good position.
He was. I mean, it all kind of kicked off with that slow down penalty on lap 1 when he just cut the corner at Augie's a little bit, and that kind of threw him back into the pack of lions chasing behind. Otherwise, he would have had a bit of clean air to get into a good rhythm early in the race. It just shows you here on the iRacing platform, if you step over that track limits, there's no arguing about it in the steward's room afterwards. It's an automatic penalty, and it's an instant penalty. You've got to serve it there and then. Within 20 or 30 seconds, I think it is. So pretty instantly, you've got to get on with it and serve that penalty. And unfortunately, he had to serve it as they were going down the Bentley Straight, and several cars floated past him. Let's see what he can do in race 2, because he's got a lot of pace underneath that Pearson's car.
Certainly does. Of course, all these cars using the same setup out there, and will all have the same feel, but the setup will suit some more than others. Well, let's just recap then what it's like to go around this venue, and let's check in once again with Leo Gariboli.
Hi there, my name is Leo Gariboli, driver for the team PDZ Porsche 992 GT3 Cup Car, and welcome to round 3 of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship at Snetterton. While we are technically returning to a familiar venue in the championship, there is an added twist in that the 300 layout is an all-new configuration. This layout adds 4 corners and 1.5 kilometers of lap distance, adding to the technicality of the circuit. The Wilson hairpin at turn 2 will give a good passing opportunity, and the fast corners of 8 and 9 of Brundle and Nelson will test every driver's confidence and commitment through the mini complex. An all new and technical track is always a fun shake-up for a championship, and now let me show you what the drivers will see firsthand. So we start our lap on the centre straight. You want to make sure as left as you can coming into Rich's. Very fast corner, double apex. You want to use that first inside curb as it's got a lot of camber, so it can give you a lot of grip. Very fast on throttle for that mid-turn rotation or the exit. Now coming into Wilson, best overtaking spot on the track. You want to keep it as heavy braking, tight as possible, and just straight line that exit. Just make sure to get as much traction as you possibly can. Coming into Palmer, the fronts are very hard to get turned in, as well as the rears are very hard to get on throttle, so you want to just be as smooth as you can, keep that platform as stable as you can. Come into Agostini, similar to Wilson, but it's definitely wider. You still want to keep it tight, but there's more of an emphasis on a late apex here. Use as much of that outside curve as you can, but avoid getting sucked onto the grass. Hamilton, very fast corner. You just want to flick it in, get as much rotation as possible, especially on exits. You can get as left as you can for Oggies. You want to keep it tight on that inside curve and straight line the exit. Very hard on traction here. Just want to make sure you don't wheel spin too much. Williams here, similar to Palmer, just keep it as smooth as you can going in and keep it as smooth as you can going out so you get the best exit onto the Bentley Straight. You don't want to mess this corner up as you do not want to go side by side to Brundle. It will be very messy. Coming to Brundle, Nelson, probably the most difficult corners on the track. Really test commitment, heavy braking, keep it as tight as you can, and then flick to the right for Nelson. Avoid using that outside curve. Now bomb hold, you want to follow the elevation of the track to get the best grip. Keep it as fast as possible, just have as much rotation, as much speed going through. Karam's probably the hardest corner as well. You want to just keep it as tight as you can while also getting the best rotation. Going into Murray's, you want to be as outside as possible so you can get the best exit going onto the centre straight. And that is a complete lap as you run down to the start-finish line. I hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Snetterton 300 circuit. Now, back to the commentary booth for the 3rd round of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain Championship. Regards.
There we go then, Leo Gariboli giving us that look around the venue, and well, the drivers are just getting themselves prepared in the warm-up session that there is between the two races here. Track is a degree hotter, so it's only 24 degrees Celsius. Really, tyre conservation isn't really the biggest worry for the drivers out here today, Peter.
Yeah, pretty ideal conditions, to be honest. 24 degrees on the track, pretty perfect for the Michelin tyres on these Porsche 992 Cup cars. And the drivers, yeah, with the setup, they'll have done lots and lots of laps. They'll be ready to go and to fight on. But there's a lot of drivers licking their wounds after that first race as well. There's a lot of people with a score to settle in this partly reverse grid race. If we thought that race 1 was exciting, this is going to be even more so, I think.
And we saw last time out Leo Gariboli do a fantastic job of holding on to a really good result in that second race after getting that reverse grid second place. So it gives a tremendous opportunity to Gareth Higgins to try and gain some good ground over his AM Championship contenders. But we'll have a few seconds and then we'll be getting ourselves the grid for race number 2 of the afternoon here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup, Great Britain. Tremendous to have you along here today with us. And well, it's that top 6 that is inverted from the results of race number 1. So that means that Jack Sedgwick for Inex Racing is going to be sharing the front row of the grid with our guest driver Charles Rainford, who's the of course Pro-Am champion from last year's Carrera Cup Great Britain. Gareth Higgins, tremendous result in race number 1. Can he follow it up with another good result in race number 2 for the AM driver? Matthew Emery is sharing that second row of the grid alongside him. Will Chadwick for LTC Sports and Sebastian Job for Oracle's Red Bull Racing Esports rounding out that top 6. The rest, well, they're starting where they finished, and it's Lewis Ward for Apex Racing Team. Had a good race that time, up to 7th place with Ollie Peacock alongside him in Apex Tech. Leon Penn and Jamie Rushworth then share the 5th row of the grid, with Luke Pennington and also the car that just disappeared off of my screen then, so I didn't quite catch that. Luke Pennington and James Parker, who shared that 6th row of the grid. Leo Gariboli with Brendan Blakesley then on row number 7. Row 8 for Eric Grove and Jakub Urbanchik. Thomas Cope and Adam State round off your row number 9. Row number 10 of this grid is going to be Scott Marks and Daniel McCauley. Josh Thompson, well, it shows him there on the grid in row number 11 with Craig Williams, but he is not going to be taking to the start of this race. So just 21 cars taking to the start of this one. We've got about a minute and 15 seconds remaining, Peter. You said that this race could be even more exciting. Sebastian Job starting 6th at a track that traditionally, as we saw, is difficult and tricky to overtake at.
Well, I think if there's anyone who can do it, it's Sebastian Job. That's for sure. We've seen him do it so far in this championship. He's got the perfect score so far. So we'll see if he can make it 3 reverse grid wins in a row. He's been quite supreme so far. Charles Rainsford, he's very keen to get going. He's ready already at the grid. Ready to, I'm sure, make a big nuisance of himself once again, and we love it.
Oh, absolutely, and this is what I'm all about. When you get a guest driver come along and can really mix it with the top drivers, that just shows their adaptability, but also shows how comfortable they are in the simulator here. Just waiting for the last couple of cars to head onto the grid. In fact, Sebastian Job is going to be the last one to head to the grid. But Will Chadwick, he's got the inside line for riches. What can he do out there? He needs to get a good result. He needs to beat Sebastian Job, who has been perfect all the way through this championship so far. We're getting ourselves ready for the start of race number 6 of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Revs rise. And we're underway, and it's not the greatest of starts from Jack Sedgwick on the front row. Will Chadwick has had a poor start as well. A drop to place to Sebastian Job straight away, and to Ollie Peacock as well. Through riches for the first time. Matt Emery has lost a place to Gareth Higgins. A tremendous start for the AM driver. Up into 3rd place already. Deep into Wilson's they go for the first time. Higgins staying there in 3rd place as they go through Palmer's now. Quick left-hander get the corner and the apex right. Sebastian Job already in 5th place, a gain of 1 position. Will Chadwick has gained the place back from Ollie Peacock, so finds himself in 6th though. There's the battle for the race lead though. Jack Sedgwick and Charles Rainford. And it's tremendous at the front, tremendous action all the way through the field as 2 cars have actually taken back to the pits, I believe. Well, one has, Dan McCauley, and there's another car, car 77 is at a standstill, Brandon Blakesley. He'll get back up and running, so I'm sure we'll see what happened there. Here we are, down into Agostini for the first time. Oh, that's a bit of a late lunge, miss of the brakes. And well, that's 2 cars for the price of 1.
Oh yeah, Dan McCauley just missing his braking point there, and yeah, takes 2 cars with him. Yeah, a little bit of a sloppy one, but certainly it can happen on those cold tyres to start with. But yeah, a costly error on the start for Will Chadwick, 2nd place in the opening race as well. He really couldn't afford to let Sebastian Job pip him off the start, because it's going to be very difficult to try and gain that position back. So he's got to try and get on the case of Sebastian Job if he can. But yeah, very costly error there for the number 88 of Will Chadwick.
Well, at the front then, Jack Sedgwick, Charles Rainford, and Rainford, he can sniff a win here. He really can. He's been impressive so far in his guest role here in the championship. Leo Garibaldi and Jamie Rushworth going side by side, and Eric Grove is going to try and follow through. So Grove trying to help out his Pure Sims teammate and getting in between the 2 of them.
Yeah, good move there from Eric Grove. He's made a good start up to 11th position at the moment. And oh, another off again for number 77, Brandon Blakesley. Now, he came into this round 2nd in the AM Championship. It's not been a particularly pleasing day at the office after that one. So, yeah, not great. So I think we're going to see big shuffling around in the AM Championship, particularly if Higgins can make it a double. That'll make a big difference. Oh, classic fast off at Riches there for number 77, Brandon Blakesley.
Yeah, he was the other one who got caught up with Dan McCauley, of course, down at Agostini, and must have picked up damage from that one, and that's what's caused him to drop down the order. But look at them at the front 2, just a little bit of a gap forming between them and Gareth Higgins. Higgins, who's got Matt Emery between him and Sebastian Job. Will Chadwick that we're on board with right now, 6th place through Coram once again, and it's an ever decreasing radius around here. You've got to get this car slowed down and then through the left, carry the speed on corner exit out of Murray's and across the line. I do remember I was about to point out earlier on in the broadcast of race number 1, I was surprised that Jonathan Palmer bought this track, especially after his history of getting involved with Netton Lindgren down at what is now the exit of Coram into Murray's, and ended up in a gravel trap in a touring car race back in the early 90s. So Jonathan Palmer, not the fondest of memories of this venue, but felt that it was appropriate for him to purchase it and to end up giving us this infield section.
Plenty of flat space to land helicopters as well, which is quite important as well for race circuits as well. So,
Emery.
Yeah, certainly is. Emery and Job battling away here as well. Emery holding the Job at bay, but he's going to try and make a move here on Higgins, and here comes Chadwick. It's exactly what he needs to do. Put Job under pressure. Good stuff there from Will Chadwick as they come through. Is Augie's? Yeah, Augie's coming around Williams and then onto the Bentley straight. That's a superb move there from Will Chadwick. Super stuff for the new signing for Altus Esports.
But he's going defensive on Job here. Job, you can hang it around the outside of Brundle into Nelson. It gives you the inside for Nelson. There's contact between the 2 of them. Job is around. Your championship leader is in the runoff. And well, Chadwick carries on. Job is off in the weeds at Nelson.
That was exactly what Chadwick needed to do. Put Job under pressure, and as soon as he was under pressure, makes an error, tries to basically take a move that isn't on. There's, that's a very low percentage. They clash on the straight, and then Chadwick's holding his line. He's up over the curb. Hasn't got any more room, and Job just tries to take on a move that's not there. Job's got so much. He's definitely got an edge on pace. He showed that in qualifying. He's shown that in race 1 at every round. He could afford to be a little bit more patient, but Chadwick did exactly what he needed to do, get in his head, cleanly, of course, which he did, and that's a great recovery from a poor start from Chadwick. Good stuff. I
mean, I wonder if Job has had in his head that he wanted to be perfect all the way through the season.
Maybe.
And set himself that as a goal for this championship, and has pushed on and tried his best, and unfortunately an unforced error, and that is exactly what it is. It's an unforced error. Oh, Luke Pennington is onto pit road. Here's another look then, and it's just a squeeze in, around it goes. Nothing that you can do to save that car at that point.
No, and like you said, Chadwick was 2 wheels up on the curb. He could not go any further along to the left there. There was maybe a little bit of more room on the right for Job, but it was a low percentage move, and he's paid the price. As Pennington's in the pits, Luke Pennington is in the pit lane. So Luke Pennington, our long-standing leader in race 1, is in the pits. So what has happened to car 74, Luke Pennington?
Well, we'll find out. Here's Pennington. Oh, it's the same mistake. Oh, it's the same error at the same corner at Hamilton, and he ends up in the barrier, just running too far wide into the grass, and then car meet armco.
Oh, well, if he was a Lewis Hamilton fan, he might not be anymore after that. Oh, what a shame for Luke Pennington. He's shown some great pace today, and it just unfortunately the results haven't matched up with that. So who is going to win this motor race then as well? We've seen Sebastian Job sweep the first four races of the season, but it looks very likely that we're going to get a new winner here in this 2023 season of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. But who's it going to be? That's the question. Could Chadwick come through? Could Emery come through? Can Cedric hang on? Lots of questions that we'll answer over the next 17 minutes.
Well, I mean, if you're Rainford and Cedric, you don't fight each other at the moment. If you're Rainford, you try and stick to the rear bumper of Jack Cedric in front and try and keep the pressure on him, but don't make any moves at the moment. Try and pull away from Matt Emery, Gareth Higgins and the rest of them, and then into the final sort of 6-7 minutes of the race, duke it out between the two of you. Or Rainford could possibly think, do you know what, a P5 and a P2 on my debut in the championship, I'll take that.
I think he's thinking win here for sure. He's got the sniff of the win. He's going to have a go. Doesn't have a championship to think about. Oh, he does have that big moment to think about and loses a lot of time. They had pulled. Cedric and Rainford were very evenly matched on the last lap, but they pulled 0.2 of a second out of Emery. Well, this has given Cedric a huge opportunity because he's now 1.4 seconds to the good, so critically he's broken the draft to Rainford, and for Emery he's got to try and get past Rainford, and as we've seen he's very good in the battle, so Cedric has got a great opportunity here to get a win on the board in the 2023 season of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain.
And this is the thing, Cedric, he'll take these opportunities. He is somebody who is a hard fighter and will, when an opportunity presents itself, take them. We're on board with Leon Penn, looking to the inside. Lewis Ward decides, do you know what? You can have that. He's obviously making the move there as Leon, and Ward just says, retreat is the better part of valor right there.
Yeah, I think he almost was trying to plan on getting a bit of a cutback and getting on the power a bit earlier and try and retaliate, but no such luck there. Well, but still, car number 36, Gareth Higgins, continues to mix it amongst the very top pros, not just amongst the mid-pack of the pros. He is right up there at the very sharp end as well. 4 seconds to the good from the second place AM driver of Jamie Rushworth. So for Gareth Higgins, if he can do this double here, he came into this round 17 points behind Leo Gariboli in third place. Second place, Brandon Blakesley's not had a good day either. So we could see a complete shift in the order in the AM Championship.
Yeah, this really can mix things up for those AM drivers as well. We're on board with the Team PGZ driver of Leo Gariboli. Of course, gave us our guide around this very venue. 3rd place in class, 11th place overall. He's got Eric Grove in front, and I think Grove, even though he has got the pace, I think Grove is very much playing the team game here for Jamie Rushworth.
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. Grove is up into the top 10. Grove's got his championship to think about as well. He's come into this round 10th in the points, so he'll want to try and make some moves forward. But Gariboli, third in the AM class at the moment, so a better run of things here in race number 2 for our AM championship leader, and tries to make a move there on Grove, but no way around. Gariboli has to also keep an eye on his mirror as well, because Adam State isn't too far back either.
Yeah, the satellite racing driver Adam State is going to be keeping a keen eye on this, and Gariboli, I think, is getting a little bit impatient here. He's moving about a lot, and Eric Grove playing the perfect rear gunner drive for him, for his teammate of Jamie Rushworth in front. Now we move forward because Gareth Higgins is really under pressure from your driver of Will Chadwick, 2nd in the championship. Leon Penn is dropping down the order, and he was coming off of the grass there, so something's happened to Leon.
Yeah, something not right there as well. And that means Sebastian Job moves up into 16th position, so he's very much on the recovery drive, trying to get as far up the order as he can and trying to salvage some points. But yeah, big lock up there for Leon Penn coming around Augie's. And if that's got corner's caught a few people out.
And no matter what you try, once you lock up that inside right wheel going into that right-hander of Augie's, you just cannot stop that locking wheel, can you?
No, and that's the difference between these Porsche 992 Cup cars and the road-going Porsche 911 GT3, is that they don't have ABS. Some racing cars do, some racing cars don't. These don't. So you have to. Your foot is your. Whether you brake with your right or your left foot, that is your ABS system. So you have to be very, very direct, very specific, very precise on that brake pedal. The cars can be fitted with it. They run in America with an ABS system, but these ones don't. Oh, it's lock up for Emery. And is Higgins going to try and make a move there? No, doesn't quite, but that brings Chadwick a little bit closer, and Chadwick really needs to try and get past Emery, try and get some points. Here he goes, move up at Augie's, and Higgins, very clever, gives him the room and tries to get on the power that little bit early. Very clever from Higgins. He's not in a battle with Chadwick. He does not need to worry about that. That was very clever there from Higgins.
And that seems to be a favourite move of Will Chadwick's, because we saw him do that move on Sebastian Job earlier on in the race. So Chadwick, he did, and no, he didn't need to make his move on Higgins, as all to the inside was Grove there momentarily, and that is a mistake from Grove that's allowed Gariboli to move through past the Pure Sims car, so now he's directly behind the other Pure Sims car of Jamie Rushworth for 8th place. 8th, 9th and 10th, that battle out on track. But for Chadwick, he needed to get past Higgins to be able to start fighting with Matt Emery to move forward in those pro standings to get himself more championship points.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that was an important move going on there, with 10 minutes to go in this thrilling motor race here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Will Chadwick, of course, has happy memories of Snetterton Circuit, a charity 12-hour solo race in the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 back during the lockdown, raising money for the NHS, and he won that race. And it was live bounties were being given for certain lap times and for certain feats. So of course, Will, when asked to do, I think it was a 155 rather than the 156, which was the previous best, and he truly did that and relieved somebody of £50 who put the bounty up as well. So he knows this track well. He's worn a Porsche 718 Cayman shaped groove into this track in the past.
Yeah, knows his way around. I could think of better tracks to be racing 12 hours around personally, just in the UK. Alton Park would be one of those, but of course you can't do that in real life because of the noise curfew at that venue. But Will Chadwick now looking ahead, and of course that's the benefit of sim racing, isn't it? No noise curfews.
Definitely, yeah. It's very, at some circuits it can be very, very restrictive as well. Up at my home circuit at Knock Hill, we're very lucky to have a pretty good position in terms of that. Don't race through the night. I'd love a Knock Hill 24-hour, but I think that would be pushing our luck maybe. But yeah, it is an important thing for circuits to think about. Chadwick getting close here to Emery. He's right in the slipstream, and I think he's going to get stronger slipstream from Emery than Emery is from Rainford in second. Sedgwick, he's checked out. He's 2.1 seconds up the road with 8 minutes to go, but Chadwick getting closer and closer. I wonder if he'll pull off his Oggy special here. Oh no, he's going to go for it at Wilson's. Here he goes up the inside. Emery gives him the room, and Chadwick a big deep. Here comes Emery, gets the cutback and gets the power down, using that rear engine traction to perfect effect. Great response there from Emery.
Oh, Emery saw that coming along and said, go on, miss your apex by a mile, I'll take the cutback, thank you very much. And those two, with that battle for third place, don't forget, in this race. We've got the race for 8th as well on the bottom screen. So you've got to keep your eyes in the back of your head really here in this championship, and Chadwick's not close enough to make that move at Oggy's, so he's going to have to wait. Meanwhile, Eric Grove is trying to get back past Leo Gariboli, and Gariboli going very defensive into Oggy's. There's Adam State. So we said that State was loitering. He was about a second behind this fight. Right now, he's caught up to the back of this fight for 8th place.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? Adam State has really come to the fore, smelling some better points in the AM Championship. As Chadwick getting closer and closer for a third, trying to make that move on Matt Emery. And we see a lot of the drivers running in the liveries of their teams, the team sponsors. But I do like Matt Emery's Guards Red colour scheme. That's very nice. Looks like a 992 GT3 RS road car. Just put some number plates on it.
I can tell you what, the GT3 RS is a
Monster.
rapid car. Not the new one. I got to have a quick ride around the Porsche Experience Centre last year and got a couple of hot laps in the GT3 RS, and that was sensational. And I will say, thank you very much to Lee Brown and everybody at Porsche EGB who were involved in organising that. Not just for myself, but for Connery and last year's champion, Kevin Ellis Jr. as well. Meanwhile, here's Leo Gariboli trying his best to move forward, but none forthcoming here in this race. He's just having to be patient, but he wants to get the position over Rushworth to get better points in terms of his AM Championship, but at the same point, he's got to be careful of Grove and State, more importantly, behind.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a train forming up behind car number 3, Jamie Rushworth. I think that's because he's had to play really, really defensive to try and keep Gariboli at bay, which is in turn kind of checking them up a little bit. And Eric Grove right behind Gariboli as well. So Gariboli's just got to have his eyes everywhere, forward and backwards. There's a little bit of a moment there for Rushworth coming on to the Bentley straight. Still, Matt Emery hanging on to this last spot on the podium with 5 minutes to go, and they're pushing. Both of these drivers at the top of their game, really pushing on hard as they come through the bomb hole and then up towards Coram. And Chadwick's probably thinking, where can I get this move? Emery not making any mistakes, and able to respond at the last move at the Wilson hairpin. Oh, thrilling battle. Brilliant Carrera Cup driving.
This is absolutely sensational. You can see Rainford going straight to the pit wall. He doesn't feel comfortable in second place, does Charles. as your race leader, Jack Sedgwick, is up front as well still, as they actually pass the lap car. Well, I've heard of getting out of the way if you're a lap car, but there's going completely off into the grass there. But Luke Pennington, he's not had a good day out there at all, and he's just trying to get his car to the end of the race. Oh!
Yeah, that's... spin.
Scott
The Olympus
Merckx.
cars.
That's Scott Merckx dropping down to 18th. And that's on the exit of Riches.
Oh, yeah, another Riches bites once again. A really, really fast corner. One of the biggest, scariest corners anywhere in the UK. And yeah, just loses it on the curb there. You've got to be so precise. And in these Porsche 992 Cup cars, you're carrying so much speed through there as well. And with the additional... It doesn't take much, does it? With the additional aero performance that these cars have over the 991, you really are stepping into a new realm of corner speed and trusting what the car can do there. But if you just step over the edge ever so slightly, well, it's curtains, as you can see.
And James Parker had a big heart-in-mouth moment in that DCW racing car following through behind him. So that means that he moves up a place as James into 15th. Sebastian Job, by the way, has got to the back of that queue of traffic for 8th place. There you can see it's a queue of Porsches. And, well, Job trying his best now to move forward. The thing is, the next two cars for him are actually for Pro Championship places, so that could help him in his championship fight. Craig Williams running a bit wide out of Murray's across the line once again. Meanwhile, Chadwick for 3rd place. He's trying everything that he can. And Matt Emery parking the car on the apex. Perfect defensive driving.
Yeah, very clean, very measured there from Matt Emery. Yeah, and like you said, Paul, placed the car in an ideal position where Will Chadwick just had no way to set up a move and got the power down nice and early again. Porsche 911, perfect for that, with the engine hanging out over the rear wheels. It gets such good acceleration, such good traction. You can open up the power nice and early, and these drivers, of course, know this car so well. It's the car that, of course, we see in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, which is one of the highest profile sim racing competitions in the world, and this is the car they use. So if you want to make it in sim racing, you need to be quick in this car. And Gariboli trying to make his move on Rushworth. Now this is for position in AM, but Rushworth hangs on for now, or does he? Trying to open up the power on the exit, and here comes Grove. Grove's going to get a great tow from his teammate as well, and Gariboli, well, he still looks like he's driving down the shops, no problem. Very relaxed.
Grove will be giving his teammate a little bit of a bump draft though, down the Bentley straight into Brundle. And then into Nelson. Now Rushworth, can he get the cutback? Yes, he can. In towards the bomb hole. It's absolutely neck and neck between these two in your AM Championship. Gary Bowley now looking to the inside of Coram. They're slowing that queue of cars behind them right now. It's almost like a bank holiday Monday with the caravan at the front of the queue. We won't see a caravan behind any of these cars, that is for sure. But we are on to the final lap here. Jack Sedgwick, we've barely mentioned him at the front. He is still 1.4 seconds ahead of Charles Rainford. Tremendous guest drive from Charles. Then you've got that race for 3rd place. It is Matt Emery and Will Chadwick. Chadwick's tried everything he can to get past. Meanwhile, the battle for 8th place. Rushworth holds the inside line. Gariboli gets the back end just squirrely on corner exit, not able to get past. I did see Sebastian Job in the background of that shot, just having a little bit of a half look at Craig Williams. In towards Agostini for the final time, stake to the inside. No position change between those two. Back end of the car of Eric Grove's car, under power, just sliding there.
Watch Job here as well. This is a great opportunity for Sebastian Job to try and make a move as the field's backed up a little bit. He's on the fight back as well, just trying to get as many positions as he can. Damage limitation after that off at Brundles earlier on as well, but still this has been amazing defensive driving from Rushworth, and also further up the front from Matt Emery as well. But poor old Jack Sedgwick, he's cruising away at the front, away for a great first win of the season, but a lonely race for Jack as well.
Well, Sedgwick, he did have a little bit of company at the start with Charles Rainford, and then a mistake from Rainford brought him a gap, and it's a gap that he's kept all the way through to the end of this race. Well, Jack Sedgwick sees the checkered flag, and he is a race winner here this season in the 2023 Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Across the line, the old girl, your top AM driver, worth pointing out, Gareth Higgins, 5th place once again for him in this race overall. He's the AM winner, and the rest of them come through, and Sebastian Job ends up in 14th place. And you would have to say, from an unpressured mistake, he didn't need to make the move that he made, yet he still made it, and it caused him to have issues out there. But a tremendous drive from Jack Sedgwick to be able to take the win here and to go lights to flag here in this one. There's your unofficial race results from race number 2 of the afternoon. Jack Sedgwick then for Inex Racing is your race winner ahead of the guest driver Charles Rainford, Pro-Am champion from the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain, 1.6 seconds back from your race winner. Matt Emery put on a tremendous display of defensive driving to finish in 3rd place ahead of the Altus Esports driver Will Chadwick, 4th place. Your top AM is Gareth Higgins, finishing 5th place overall, with Ollie Peacock in 6th ahead of Lewis Ward. Jamie Rushworth then was the 2nd place AM in 8th overall, with Leo Gariboli in 9th place, 3rd place in class, and Eric Grove rounding out that top 10. Adam State in 11th place for Satellite Racing, ahead of Thomas Cope for Olympus Esports. There was cooking by Craig Setup Shop Craig Williams in 13th place, and the Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports driver of Sebastian Job. He was going for perfection in this season, and it didn't quite happen here today. 14th for him in the end in the second race of the day. James Parker for Team DCW Racing, 15th ahead of Leon Penn. Jakub Ivanchik in 17th ahead of Scott Marks, Brandon Blakesley and Luke Pennington. With the final driver who did not finish, Dan McCauley, who had an issue on lap number 1. Well, Peter, that was some tremendous action out there, and sensational racing, but tremendous driving from several of your drivers out there to hold on to positions.
Yeah, I mean, where do you begin? Gareth Higgins, what a performance from him. 2 AM wins in a row. That really puts his championship campaign back on track, very much so. As well, you know, we saw domination from Sebastian Job in race 1, race 2. Big surprise to see him make quite an uncharacteristic error, I think it must be said, there in race 2, and that leaves him with no points at all from that second race there as well. So that brings Will Chadwick back into the championship fight as well. Lots going on. I mean, Jamie Rushworth too, holding off that train behind him for lap after lap. He must be sweating after that one.
Well, why don't we go and speak to the man who finished that second race 4th place. Peter, take it away with Will Chadwick.
Will Chadwick from Altus Esports, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary booth. I tell you what, from our seat, that was some fantastic motor racing out there. What was it like behind the seat?
Pretty hard to pass. You don't get much of a slipstream anymore in these cars since they changed them, so it's always pretty hard to pass. So yeah, I just did the best I could. A bit annoyed I messed up the move on, I think it was Emery, into the braking zone, but we'll take another effective podium with the points, and yeah.
Now, Will, you're normally the cheeriest chappie in sim racing. You don't sound it today, my friend. Now, tell us about the move with Job, because that was, you held your line, and tell us about your feelings on that particular move.
So I made the move into, I think it was like T6, with a bit of traffic around, well, not traffic, but a bit of other cars around. I was able to get the move off just about and get it stopped. I knew I had to try something if I wanted to to have a go at beating Sebastian in this race, so I had to make a move earlier on, and down into the left-hander, I kept it as inside as I could. I think there's a bit of netcode in it. I think that the contact model isn't the best with how it happened, and I'm just sorry on Sebastian's part, because it's not what I want to happen at the end of the day. And yeah, it's just a bit of a shame that had to happen.
And finally, as a day, you come out of the day with a really good haul of points, drawing in some points on Sebastian in the championship. That's going to give you reasons to be cheerful looking forward, though, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit upset with qualifying. I had a lap that was going really well, and it would have been, I mean, looking at the Delta, it would have been very, very close to Sebastian's time. I would like to think ahead, but, there was still a few corners to go and to mess up if possible. In race 1, I wasn't really happy with my pace. A bit disappointed. I was kind of driving within myself, but generally okay. I mean, I'm happy to take the points in the championship and move on to Alton Park, Cheshire. We love Cheshire.
Absolutely, home territory for you, and the Alton Park, a great venue to go to. Well, congratulations on a good day at the office, a solid haul of points, and good luck for the next round.
Thank you. Speak to you in a bit.
Yeah, there we go. That was Will Chadwick then for the Altus Esports outfit. And Peter, just to get your final thoughts on this round of the championship. Snetterton is not always one that produces great racing, but that today was some really exciting, dramatic racing.
It was fantastic motorsport, and that's why I say a lot in the world of virtual racing. If you're new to it, if you've not given it a go, get involved, because that was just fantastic motor racing there today. Great talent up and down the field in the Pro and the An field, and our guest driver Charles Rainford, he certainly made his presence known, didn't he? Fantastic. We've got a new winner in Jack Cedric as well, and it's game on in both championship as well. A pleasure to watch and roll on Alton Park.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it right there. Our next round of the championship on the 26th of February is going to be at the, what is my personal favourite, of Alton Park out there in Cheshire. Tremendous venue, and certainly one that is spectacular to watch motorsport at. So do join us in 2 weeks' time for that at Alton Park. And then after that, we head on over to Spa-Francorchamps, Silverstone, Donington and Brands Hatch for that championship finale at the end of April. But from everybody here at the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain for week number 3 of the championship here at Snetterton, from Paul Smith, from Peter Mackay, from our producer Arjuna Kankapati, I want to say thank you very much for joining us, and make sure you stick around in 2 weeks' time for that Alton Park round. Goodbye.